Hi, Muchismo Eugene. Welcome to another video from Exit Strategy. Please like, subscribe, share. Give a thumbs up to this video if you found it helpful, and pass it on if you believe someone else will benefit from it. I'd appreciate that. Hey guys, today I almost convinced myself that I was a narcissist. I got thinking about, and I've never had anyone on my page thus far, that uh, called me a narcissist, and I believe in some point or another they will, and it happens. Any content creator here with a big following uh, will, and who's spitting the truth, will ultimately be called a narcissist. This is just what they do. But the difference is it's rare that we actually believe that we are narcissists. Well, I won't say it's rare. At some stage in your healing and your recovery and your awakenedness, you will, at some point or another, introspect, and for a quick moment, or maybe it may linger, you may say, man, am I a narcissist? Because there are some things that every human being exhibits, and if it's anything remotely resembles any of those 8, 9 characteristics of a narcissist, we automatically draw off of that. And if you're asking yourself, are you a narcissist? 9 times out of 10 or 10 out of 10, you're not a narcissist, just so you know. But that is something that you may, in fact, find yourself having a subconscious conversation about between you and yourself in thought, if you're honest. And that's quite okay to do that. But getting back to point, what made me entertain that for a moment was there was a live, my boy Denzel Moss. I've been on his lives a couple of times, but what many people don't know is I struck up somewhat of a long distance friendship with him in the early beginnings of 2020, when we both were beginning on this journey. I think he might have been doing YouTube before me. But anyhow, at some point, I think it was about a year had passed or something like that, and I was on a live, might have been longer than that, and he invited me. And this is not the one I'm drawing off of. It's the last live that he invited me on, that I looked back at some point. And this has been a while ago when I looked back at the video, but just today, today, this morning, I began to start thinking of how I presented myself once I actually saw myself in the screen with him. I was giddy, I was all excited. I had, looking at myself, this is what I saw. And it was like a little kid. I had that little glee in my eyes, and I was just kind of choked up. And that is what made me, for a moment, because I know, looking at narcissists as an awakened empath now, when you talk to them, or if someone is giving them accolades and they're giving them, stroking their ego or giving them compliments, some narcissists will, undeniably, you'll see how they just, I don't know, it's hard to explain it, but if you look at them, and you're the third party or casual observer, you will see that they become full of themselves. Now, this wasn't the case when Denzel invited me in, because he wasn't stroking my ego, he wasn't giving me any kind of accolades. It was kind of like when I came into the screen and I saw him, I got giddy. I was excited. I was very happy to see this brother. Just like a brother I had not seen in a long time, much like a biological brother. Even more so, I was excited. I don't think I've ever been that excited to see any of my biological family like that. So this is a different type of feeling when we, as empaths, found our family. You know, we have this glee in our eyes, and it's okay to feel that way. It's okay to behave that way. But a part of me was critiquing my whole persona, if you will, or my whole demonstration there subconsciously. And so I'm reverting back to that saying, man, I was acting real narcissistic. For a moment, I entertained that, and I quickly denounced that because, and I held on to all of that behavior, or all of that, um, all of those things that I exhibited. I embraced them. I said to myself, and this is a conversation I'm having subconsciously, if you follow me. At first, on the surface, I was eked out by it, and I was like, I'm okay with that. I'm okay being excited to see a brother like that. But looking at myself, it was me trying to get a perception of what other people saw. So I was being very critical of my own image there, as though I was a third party, uh, looking outside of myself, being devil's advocate. And so you can see where I'm going with that. So it was just a weird thing to just, think about. And it came out of nowhere, and I was like, nah, that was a liar. We can be excited. We can be excited to see our brothers. We can be excited to see one another. If we are on each other's live and we are chopping it up, if you look back at yourself on video and you see yourself getting choked up, or you're acting all giddy and, whatever it is, and most people probably didn't even notice it, but I was very critical of myself because I said, man, I was reading it in the worst way for a moment, and then I took back that thought, and what trumped that thought was, man, I'm owning that. Better believe I'm happy to see my brother. Narcissists don't want you to be happy. And what they've done most of our life, whether it was in our family, most often it was someone within our family that groomed us and trained us to keep our excitement to a minimum. And if we got excited, they would often tell you, don't take all that. They would quickly extinguish your excitement. Are you getting what I'm saying, guys? There are moments. Empaths are not always giddy, but we're always in this very hopeful, optimistic demeanor. Even in our silence, the narcissist sees it. They sense it, they observe it. Our energy alone agitates them. And so what they have to do, when you first met them, before you awakened, they were already smearing you in ways that were not true to who you were. But when you become an awakened empath, their go-to is, he's a narcissist. And I want to mention something real quick before I lose sight of that. You have a couple of, I don't want to say self-aware narcissists, but they are narcissists that are aware that they are narcissists. I guess that's what a self-aware narcissist. Counselors told them they were diagnosed being narcissist. And one is Lee Hammock, and another is Sam Vaknin. He's been diagnosed 2 or 3 times. He's a sadistic or some type of narcissist where he gets off on pain. He gets pleasure out of that. Dr. Sam Vaknin, professor of psychology, he's pretty renowned for a lot of stuff relating to narcissistic personality disorder. He actually coined, and he brags about this, rightfully so, I guess, 5, I believe, of those things or terms that we normally use, like Hoover, correct me if I'm wrong, but he has a handful of them that he coined back in 1995. Before that, there was no phrase or names or labels to give to this stuff. Hoover, gaslighting, uh, just quite a few of them, handful of them, of the 8, 9 things that you, or not even the 8 traits, but just these terms. He coined them. It kind of, my memory fails me right now. I used to listen to him quite often, but since about 6 months ago, I just kind of unsubscribed because I'm on something new. I want empaths and chosen ones, awakened and non-awakened, to jail with me, and I want to jail with them. Not taking anything away from him, but I think he's taught me well enough. And Lee Hammock, he's another one. His wife is still with him. Go figure. I don't know what's going on with that, but to each his own. But bigger point is these self-aware narcissists, they are on here and they have great followings. I don't know. I can't get around. I can't get my head around that. They have what it takes to educate and inform you on what narcissists or how they move. But here I am as an awakened empath that went through some of the stuff that this covert narcissist took me through. It wasn't much, it wasn't long, but it was enough for me to wake up and go forward in trying to understand more about them. And the best way that I see that I'm understanding this disorder is through people who have been abused by them. That's just for me. It seems like I gain a lot more insight because it is raw, unedited. I just believe the narcissist holds back something. But if you've been abused by them, we hold back nothing. And there's so many of our stories that are so parallel. And what that does for each and every one of us, it causes us to, we go back to parts and pieces of, and moments of the interaction with them, and we reassess it many times over, and we always see a different, from a different point of view. And that's the phenomenal thing about being awakened and educating yourself and vibrating, because there's always some more room for improvement. So I wanted to share that with you guys, man. I almost thought I was a narcissist today. And that is the stuff that plays in your head sometimes. And you will be called narcissist, labeled a narcissist, and that's fine and well. But I know this undeniably: if in fact you are a narcissist and you are here on the channels that we are on as empaths and chosen ones, and you think you're going to infiltrate yourself as being one of us, is a waste of time. It is a waste of time, it's a waste of energy, and most of all, you're going to be agitated and you're not going to stay long. That being said, bless.